Now's better than later.
I think at this point we're justified in taking whatever we think might help us in this particular place. Garons of Ferelden, a genealogical history. Traces the line of Arl Eamon back to the time of the Alamari clans. I think that'd be a gift for Alistair, probably. Back to the main floor, I guess. There were other rooms on that second floor, but... oh, God. This is the room that did me in last time. What's the difference? Why didn't they attack this time? Geography of Ferelden. Unless it was because the demon was possessing them last time. Oh, got it. Sir Perth, what's in this room?
I'll get on it.
Elysion Empire. Alistair's mother's amulet? Holy shit. Well, that's something to hold on to. My god. Let's talk to Sir Perth and see what he thinks of the whole thing. So I'm kind of feeling like those knights were basically like a space control. They were a way to keep you from going further into the castle before you had resolved what was needed to be done.
Might you have news?
Nope. Nope. Actually, I haven't returned at all. I haven't even left yet.
Then I must resume my duties. The civil war continues, and Loghain is no doubt angered Redcliffe has not been disabled. Good luck, my lady. You are a great and noble woman.
Thank you.
I hope it continues to go well, for all our sakes.
Yeah, we'll do our best. Perth?
It is good you resolved this demon business. Now we must either revive the Arl, or allow Van Tegan to take his place.
We'll do our best.
Got it.
That means that there was an option to just let the Arl die and have Bantegan take his place? Because that would actually be kind of fine. I mean, Sado Voce, I don't want the guards to hear me, but Tegan sounds like a perfectly good dude. We could just let the Arl die. Whatever. Hey, gang, so it is that time where we're going to do another Codex entry. Codex episode. So, this episode right here is ending. The next episode is Codex. So here we are, Codex episode. Skip ahead if you don't want to sit through all of this, but I like to go through it because I like to explore the lore of the game. So, let's begin at the beginning. Oh my god, there's so much lit up. Abomination. We arrived in the dead of night. We had been tracking the Maleficar for days, and finally had him cornered, or so we thought. As we approached, a home on the edge of the town exploded, sending splinters of wood and fist-sized chunks of rock into our ranks. We had but moments to regroup before fire rained from the sky, the sounds of destruction wrapped in a hideous laughter from the center of the village. There, perched atop the spire of the village chantry, stood the mage, but he was human no longer. We shouted prayers to the Maker and deflected what magic we could, but as we fought, the creature fought harder. I saw my comrades fall, burned by the flaming sky or crushed by debris. The monstrous creature, looking as if a demon were wearing a man like a twisted suit of skin, spotted me and grinned. We had forced it to this, I realized. The mage had made this pact, given himself over to the demon to survive our assault. Transcribed from a tale told by a former Templar in Cumberland, 884 Blessed. It is known that mages are able to walk the Fade while completely aware of their surroundings, unlike most others who may only enter the realm as dreamers and leave it scarcely aware of their experience. Demons are drawn to mages, though whether it is because of this awareness or simply by virtue of their magical power in our world is unknown. Regardless of the reason, a demon always attempts to possess a mage when it encounters one, by force or by making some kind of deal, depending on the strength of the mage. Should the demon get the upper hand, the result is an unholy union known as an abomination. Abominations have been responsible for some of the worst cataclysms in history, and the notion that some magic in a remote tower could turn into such a creature unbeknownst to any was the driving force behind the creation of the Circle of Magi. Thankfully, abominations are rare. The Circle has methods for weeding out those who are too at risk for demonic possession. A scant few mages would give up their free will to submit to such a bond with a demon, but once an abomination is created, it will do its best to create more. Considering that entire squads of Templars have been known to fall at the hands of a single abomination, it is not surprising that the Chantry takes the business of the Circle of Magi very serious indeed. Arcane horror. Upon ascending to the second floor of the tower, we were greeted by a gruesome sight. A ragged collection of bones wearing the robes of one of the senior enchanters. I had known her for years, watched her raise countless apprentices. And now she was a mere puppet for some demon. Transcribed from a tale told by a Templar in Antiva's city, 713, Storm. Demons, of course, have no form in our world. When they enter, either where the veil is particularly thin or through blood magic summoning, they must take possession of a body. When a pride demon takes control of the corpse of a mage, an arcane horror is born. Although they appear to be little more than bones, these are fierce creatures possessing not only all the spellcasting abilities of a living mage, but also the capacity to heal and even command other animated corpses. Bear? Okay. No beast is more beloved by Dirthamen than the bear. When the world was new, Dirthamen gave one secret to each creature to keep. The foxes traded their secrets to Andruil for wings. The hares shouted theirs to the treetops. The birds sold theirs for gold and silver. Only the bears kept Dirthamen's gift deep within their dens. They slept the months away in the company of their secrets and nothing else. When Dirthamen discovered what had been done with his gifts, he snatched the wings from the foxes, silenced the voices of the hares, and turned the birds into paupers. But the bears he honored for their steadfastness. Transcribed from a Dalish tale, 9-8 Dragon. Normally, it is almost unheard of for bears to attack travelers. They are, in fact, so shy and so inactive during the day that most people never encounter a bear at all. However, should a bear be provoked, they are remarkably dangerous. The normally placid-seeming creatures become enraged and can strike massive blows with their paws, capable of knocking a man off his feet. That sounds like Skyrim bears to me. Corpse. To anyone who doubts the wickedness of blood magic, I say, with your own hands, strike down the corpses of your own brothers who have fallen in battle to a Maleficar. Then we may discuss morality. Knight Commander Benedictus, in a letter to the Divine, 546, Exalted. The walking dead are not, as the superstitious are wont to believe, the living come back from revenge. They are rather corpses possessed by demons. The shambling corpse, controlled by a demon of sloth, causes its enemies to become weak and fatigued. Corpses possessed by rage demons go berserk and simply wade into their opponents mindlessly. Devouring corpses are held by hunger demons and feed upon the living. The more powerful demons rarely deign to possess a dead host. Desire demon. Ooh, this is a big one. In all my studies, I must say that the most intriguing was my interview with the Desire demon. That the creature was willing to speak with me was a sign that it was no mere monster, mindlessly driven by its nature, but rather a rational being as interested in me as I was in it. It took a form that I would call female, though I had no doubt that it could appear otherwise. I wondered if it appeared as it did because I wanted it to or because I expected it to. She, and indeed I could only think of her as such now, smiled warmly at me and laughed a musical sound that seemed to thrill my old heart. So frightened was I of this creature's legendary abilities to twist the hearts of men, and so relieved was I when I looked across the table into her dark eyes. This was a fearsome creature of the Fade, but as I spoke with her, I slowly came to realize that this demon was merely as misunderstood as we mages are ourselves. Okay, yeah, sounds like you're falling under her spell there, dude. From the journal of former senior enchanter Malleus, one of the Circle of Rivain, declared apostate in 920 Dragon. Yeah, there we go. Of all the threats from beyond the veil, few are more insidious and deceptively deadly than the Desire Demon. In folklore, such demons are characterized as peddlers of lust, luring their prey into a sexual encounter only to be slain at the culmination. While a Desire Demon can indeed deal in pleasure, in truth they deal with any manner of desire that humans can possess, wealth, power, and beauty, to name a few. Far more intelligent than bestial hunger and rage demons, and more ambitious than the demons of sloth, these dark spirits are among the most skilled at tempting mages into possession. Many who serve the whims of a Desire Demon never realize it. They are manipulated by illusions and deceit, if not outright mind control, although these demons are reluctant to resort to such crude measures. Instead, they seem to take great pleasure in corruption. The greater deceit, the greater their victory. Only demons of pride prove more fearsome opponents when roused. Their abilities to affect minds allow them to assume disguises and even alter the environment to their purposes, not to mention the great strength and speed they possess if they should have to resort to more physical means. Most often, a Desire Demon will attempt to bargain its way to freedom if overpowered. Many stories exist that depict mages defeating Desire Demons to the point where a wish can be wrested from them. It should be noted that in such stories, the demon almost always gets the upper hand, even when the mage thinks his wish has been granted. Dragonlings. Newly hatched dragons are roughly the size of a deer and voraciously hungry. They live for a short time in their mother's lair before venturing out on their own. The slender, wingless creatures are born in vast numbers, as only a few ever make it to adulthood. That raises the question, what the hell was the Circle doing with baby dragons anyway in their tower? We never saw anything else related to that would have clued us in. Ghoul. What the Blight does not destroy, it corrupts. Any creature infected with the Darkspawn taint that does not have the good fortune to die outright becomes a ghoul, a twisted shadow of itself. The name originally comes from men, whether human, dwarven, or elven, who became tainted, usually while being held as a captive food source by the Darkspawn. They would turn cannibal, preying on other captives, slaves to the will of the Archdemon, driven mad by pain. During a blight, the corruption of the Darkspawn spreads through the wilder areas of Thedas and infects the animals found there. This produces grotesque, enraged bears called Berescarn, as well as blight wolves. Fortunately, ghouls rarely survive their corruption for long. Golem. Once a crucial part of Orzammar's defenses, golems have all but vanished as the secret to their manufacture was lost over 1,000 years ago. What few golems remain are guarded closely by the Shaperit, brought out when the battle with the Darkspawn grows desperate enough to risk their loss. No one now would sell a golem for any price, but in ancient times, dwarves sold many golems to the Magister Lords of Tevinter. They are devastating weapons in war, living siege engines capable of hurling boulders like a catapult or plowing through enemy lines like an earthquake. Pride Demon. Let me explain what it is to face a Pride Demon, my friends. You may scoff and say that our talents exist only to face mages, but you will encounter demons often. They will be summoned by a Maleficar and bound to do his bidding, and while at times they will be forced into the possession of a host, they will also face you in their true form, a powerful opponent indeed. Do not underestimate it. Pride is powerful and intelligent. When we have encountered one in its true form, its most common attacks are bolts of fire and ice. Fire they will use to burn an opponent, and the magical flame will combust anything you wear regardless of make. Ice they will use to freeze an opponent in place. Be cautious, for they enjoy employing this against warriors in particular. More than one group of Templars has made the mistake of attempting to overwhelm a Pride Demon and suffered the consequences, believe me. And if you think that having the aid of other mages will assist you, you are wrong. Pride demons can render themselves immune to magic for short times and are adept at dispelling magic that is cast upon you, as much as we Templars are able to disrupt spells. Think on that for a moment, my friends. Be wary of how prideful you become, lest you find too much in common with such a fiend. Transcript of a lecture given by Varen, Templar, commander of Tantervel, 686, Steel. Rage Demon. Encountered in the Fade, the true form of a Rage Demon is a frightening sight, a thing of pure fire, its body seemingly made of amorphous lava, and its eyes two pinpricks of baleful light radiating from its core. The abilities of such a demon center on the fire it generates. It burns those who come near, and the most powerful of its kind are able to lash out with bolts of fire and even firestorms that can affect entire areas. Fortunately, even powerful rage demons are less intelligent than most other varieties. Their tactics are simple. Attack an enemy on sight with as much force as possible until it perishes. Some rage demons carry over their heat-based abilities into possessed hosts, but otherwise the true form is mostly seen outside of the Fade when it's specifically summoned by a mage to do his bidding. Rat! What are you, mad? Even the most giant of rats isn't going to present that much of a problem to anyone larger than a cat. Even the stories in the archives tell of blight-touched rats, still only attributed them with the ability to spread the plague. The rats themselves got no larger than perhaps 3 feet in length, covered in sharp, bony spikes and boils. Disturbing, certainly, but dangerous? This is no fantasy conjured by madmen, young man. You have much more important creatures to concern yourself with. Transcript of a lecture given by Nalia, senior enchanter of Hosberg, 844, Blessed. Note: she was later eaten by a blight rat in 846, Blessed. Yeah, probably shouldn't tempt fate like that, Nalia. I appreciate what you're going for there. But between blight and 3 feet rats, that's definitely something I would be worried about. Revenant. An entire unit of men, all slain by one creature. I didn't believe it at first, your perfection, but it appears that this is so. We have a survivor, and while at first I thought his rantings pure exaggeration, it appears to be no simple skeleton. The descriptions of the creature's abilities were eerily similar to those our brothers at Marnus Pell encountered almost a century ago. Men pulled through the air to skewer themselves on the creature's blade, and attacks so quick that it was able to assault multiple opponents at once. No, your perfection, what we have here is indeed a revenant and nothing less. From a letter to Divine Amara III, 571, Exalted. A revenant is a corpse possessed by a demon of pride or of desire, making it amongst the most powerful possessed opponents that one can face. Many possess spells, but most are armed and armored and prefer the use of their martial talents. They are weak against physical attacks, but regenerate quickly, and commonly use telekinesis to pull opponents into melee range should they try to flee. Revenants also have the ability to strike multiple opponents surrounding them. Stay at range if possible and strike quickly. That is the only way to take such a creature down. Skeleton. The demons of the Fade are jealous of the living beings they sense from across the veil. They constantly push against the boundaries of the Fade, and when they finally cross over, they attempt to possess the first living creature they see. They are unable, however, to distinguish that which was once living from that which still is. In fact, a corpse provides an even more tempting target to a weaker demon, as it has no will with which to resist the possession. The demon cannot rationalize why this is so. It only sees a target and grasps at the opportunity. That's kind of silly. Demons are kind of dumb. A skeleton is exactly that, a corpse animated by a possessing demon. Upon finding itself trapped within a body that cannot sustain it, the demon is driven insane. It's kind of funny. Like, yes, go forth, my demons, possess all you find. And then some demons are like, well, we found these corpses. Sure, let's do it. And then they get inside and they're like, this makes me insane. It seeks to destroy any life that it encounters, attacking without thought to its own welfare. The exact names given to skeletons of this type vary according to the nature of the demon that possesses it. A fanged skeleton is a skeleton possessed by a hunger demon. These skeletons devour whatever life they encounter and often possess the ability to drain life energy and mana from their victims. A shambling skeleton is a slower-moving skeleton possessed by a sloth demon, able to bring entropic powers against its opponents, slowing them and even putting them to sleep. More powerful demons have been known to command skeletons, but at that level they are known by other names, revenants and arcane horrors, to name two. I appreciate that there are, 4 types of demons? Pride, sloth, rage, and desire, unless I'm missing one. And that there are multiple types of possessed corpses, possessed, skeletons. We've got shambling, fanged, and then, of course, revenants and arcane horrors. I appreciate the lore attempt here, saying like, hey, these are the different types of demons. This is what it looks like when they possess different types of creatures in the real world. It might have been easier, though, if they would have just said, instead of fanged skeleton, just say hunger skeleton. And instead of shambling, just say sloth skeleton. Like, have it be like a 1-to-1, so it's not like, okay, wait, hang on. Fanged equals hunger, I don't know. It's maybe not that difficult, but it's hard in the moment of combat to keep track of, like, yes, fanged equals hunger. Shambling equals sloth. It's just a little bit easier if it's, 1-to-1. But anyway, small complaint. I appreciate the lore. Sloth demon. And I looked at the creatures, and it had become me. A veritable copy of my form, of my very mind, stared back at me as if from within a mirror. I thought surely that this was a trick, an illusion meant to put me off guard, but as I engaged the thing with my sword, it fought me with maneuvers that I recognized. It parried as I parried. It swung as I swung. It spoke to me and said things that only I could know. I think this demon of sloth has no form or identity of its own. It is envy as much as sloth, I believe, and mine was not the first shape it stole that day. An excerpt from a transcribed deposition of Tyrannus, Templar commander of Cumberland, 390 Towers. The most difficult assumption for some who study demons to overcome is the notion that a sloth demon is, in and of itself, slothful. If that were so, it seems highly unlikely that any such demons would cross the veil into our own world, or once here would fight to possess any creature with a will of its own, and we know both of these things to not be the case. Certainly some demons are lazy and complacent, but who knows? Perhaps these creatures even cultivate such a reputation. The truth is that demons of sloth are named so because this is the portion of the human psyche that they feed upon. Doubt, apathy, entropy. They seek to spread these things. The sloth demon hides in its forms, a master of shapes and disguises, always in the last place you look, and from its hiding place it spreads its influence. A community afflicted by a demon of sloth could soon become a dilapidated pit, where injustices are allowed to pass without comment, and none of the residents could be aware that such a change has even taken place. The sloth demon weakens, tires, tears at the edges of consciousness, and would much rather render its victim helpless than engage in a true conflict. Such creatures are best faced only with a great deal of will, and only with an eye to piercing their many disguises. So here's a question about the lore, and maybe it's made clear elsewhere and I just haven't discovered it yet. The demons come from the Fade, and the Fade is where the Maker, according to legend, originally was before the Tevinter mages got in there and tried to conquer the Black City, which wasn't called the Black City at the time, but they, tried to conquer it. It was turned into the Black City. The Maker banished them, turned them back into Darkspawn, or into the first Darkspawn. Before the Tevinter mages corrupted the Black City, were there demons in the Fade? Because they make it seem like, before that, the Fade was like a paradise type of place. The Maker was there and everything was great. Or was it just the city was paradise, and outside of the city, the Fade was full of the demons that we encounter now? I'm not sure. I'm wondering, were the demons created because Tevinter got in there and corrupted it and became the Darkspawn, and then as a result, demons started being generated in the Fade. Were the demons always there? And the Maker was just immune to them, or unaffected by them, or completely indifferent to them? I don't know. The demons are very clearly I don't know that there's 7 different types of them, but they're very clearly based on the 7 deadly sins, right? We have sloth, hunger, which would be gluttony, desire, which would be lust. What am I missing? Pride, right? The only ones they haven't mentioned so far: hunger, pride, wrath. They haven't mentioned wrath and envy, although they did mention envy in one of the previous entries, that maybe the desire demon could be just envy. There's a third sin I'm not thinking of. Seventh deadly sin I'm not thinking of. Wrath, envy, pride, lust, gluttony. Maybe the rage demons are wrath. That would make sense. Anyway, it's very Catholic in its creation, in its inspiration, I think. So I'm just kind of wondering if it's if it's similar to Catholicism in like a fallen angel sense, that the Maker was in the city and it was pure and there were no demons about, and then it was corrupted, and these angels that had been within these spirits, these benevolent spirits that went before, suddenly became demons, and now those demons are afflicting everybody in the real world. I don't know. Giant spider. Giant spiders tend to appear in old ruins and other places where the veil has become thin because of magical disturbances or a great number of deaths. In such places, spirits and demons pass into the world of the living and attempt to take control over living beings, spiders among them. Not all scholars accept this explanation for the presence of these beasts, however. Some claim that the thinning veil allows magic to leak from the Fade, tainting such creatures as these spiders to transform into larger and more potent creatures than they ever would become naturally. While such spiders are known to possess powerful poisons and the ability to fling their webs at opponents in combat, studies of them have been few, and the full range of their abilities are unknown. Talk to Morrigan about that. Wisp. I honestly don't remember fighting a wisp, but okay. A great deal is made of the most powerful demons, those that create abominations and those that have changed the history of Thedas. It is often forgotten that not all demons are such awe-inspiring beings. Some that break through the cracks in the veil into our world are known as wisps, a sliver of a thought that once was. A wisp is a demon that has lost its power. Either it has existed in our world for too long without finding a true host, or it has been destroyed, often so be found by other demons. What remains of its mind clings tightly to the one concept that created it, a hatred of all living things. While its ability to target a living creature is limited, these wisps often mindlessly attack when encountered in the Fade. In the living world, they often have been known to maliciously lure the living into dangerous areas, being mistaken for lanterns or other civilized light sources. This does, however, seem to be the very limit of their cunning. From the journal of former senior enchanter Malleus, one of the Circle of Rivain, declared apostate in 920 Dragon Age. I don't remember anything about encountering a wisp, or where we would have learned anything about their lore. Items. The Litany of Adralla. Adralla of Varantium dedicated her life to the study of blood magic, the academic study rather than the practice. A deeply pious mage, she was renowned in her day for having found a counter to every form of mind control, a defense against dream walkers, and even counterspells to demonic summons. Her efforts went unappreciated in her native Tevinter, however. After 3 different magisters attempted to have her killed, she fled the country, choosing to take refuge in the land of Blessed Adraste's birth. She spent the remainder of her days with the Circle in Ferelden. The Litany of Adralla disrupts the casting of mind control spells. Use the litany whenever a creature tries to dominate another with magic, and it will interrupt the casting. Once the spell is in effect and a character is under a blood mage's power, it is too late. I think We read Havard's Aegis, but I think this one accidentally got marked red off camera, and I need to read it. This is the sword that we've been carrying, thinking that maybe Sten could use it. In the company of monsters he went, down the empty wolf roads after the dragon, to the lands where the ice is like steel. And the air grows thin as a beggar, and every rocky path is strewn with the bones of the lonely dead. There Dane dwelled, and 50 swords were worn to rusted ruin before at last they found the cave of Fenchel, ancient keeper of the mountains, bane of wolves. Dane sought a way in which the dragon might be felled. Fiend of fire and talon, its scales brighter than any warrior's mail, teeth greater than men, and all around the slumbering worm were bones, wolves, men, beasts beyond counting. The fume of death frightened even the wolf pack, and Dane, desperate, crept into the cavern to seek the monster's death alone. There, shining among the dead like a star, his hands found a sword, Usaris, forged by the dwarf smiths for an Almari lord long ago, waiting age after age to be taken to battle once more. And this Dane freed from the earth and struck, at the eye of the dragon, still sleeping, with a swift, terrible blow. And Fenchal woke, wroth, only to die. From Dane the Werewolf. The legend of the Blade of Usaris predates Andraste. The sword that Dane found in the dragon's treasure hoard, which he used to slay both Fenchal and the werewolf, was passed on to his son Hafter. Dane may have been fiction, but Hafter was fact. In 140 Divine, he led the Alamari tribes against Darkspawn that flooded into Ferelden Valley from the Dwarven lands. He not only drove back the horde, he also then defeated the combined forces of the Avars and the Chastened, who hoped to take advantage of the chaos. His victories earned him such respect from the tribes, he was named the first Terran. So, I'm just guessing. Ban Tegan, I'm guessing Ban is the equivalent of a baron, right? I'm thinking like feudalism. Like a baron would be the equivalent of, a mayor of a town, village, that kind of thing. Arl would be the equivalent of an earl, somebody who's in charge of like an entire county. And then Terran, I'm assuming, would be like the equivalent of a duke, who would be in charge of a duchy, several counties together. And then they would report to the king, who in this case would be Kalen, except he's dead. So I'm guessing that Terran Loghain, I would imagine there had to be other duchies within the kingdom. Usually you don't have a kingdom that's just one duchy. Or if you do, the king is both the king and the duke. The fact that the king had a duke under him, had Terran Loghain under him, implies that there would be other Terrans, but we haven't heard of them. Anyway, I'm guessing that's the equivalency. After years of ruling the valley in peace, it is said that Hafter left Ferelden, sailing into the unknown east of the Amaranthine Ocean, with the blade still in hand, never to be seen again. Well, the blade somehow made it back, because we found it. Magic and religion. My god, so much. I may not read all of these in this episode. I may wait. God, that's a lot. I may wait and read them in a future episode. I'm going to fill a half an hour here and like the next... Actually, I think I've just hit a half an hour with this episode. If I read Magic and Religion, I'm going to call it quits. I'll read everything that's here. That'll be the end of this episode, and then we'll save the other stuff for a future one. And I'll just have to do it, if not at the end of the next play session, then the one after that. Because we gotta keep up here. I haven't done them enough, I guess. This one would be at least an hour if I read everything. The Black City. No traveler to the Fade can fail to spot the Black City. It is one of the few constants of that ever-changing place. No matter where one might be, the city is visible, always far off, for it seems that the only rule of geography in the Fade is that all points are equidistant from the Black City. The chant teaches that the Black City was once the seat of the Maker, from whence he ruled the Fade, left empty when men turned away from him. Dreamers do not go there, nor do spirits. Even the most powerful demons seem to avoid the place. It was golden and beautiful once, so the story goes, until a group of powerful Magister lords from the Tevinter Imperium devised a means of breaking in. When they did so, their presence defiled the city, turning it black, which was perhaps the least of their worries. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Midramel. the Fraternity of Enchanters. Another aspect of circle life is the fraternity. When a mage becomes an enchanter, he may ally himself with a fraternity. These are cliques that cross circle boundaries, mages of common interests and goals who band together to ensure that their voice is heard within the College of Magi in Cumberland. The largest fraternities currently are the Loyalists, who advocate loyalty and obedience to the Chantry, the Equitarians, who advocate temperance and follow a distinct code of conduct which they believe all mages should hold themselves to, the Libertarians, a growing fraternity, publicly maintaining greater power for the circles, but secretly advocating a complete split from the Chantry, a dangerous opinion, naturally. The Isolationists, a small group that advocates withdrawing to remote territories in order to avoid conflicts with the general populace. I think after the events that we witnessed in the Circle, that would be the one that maybe Georgianne would be the most sympathetic to. The Lucrosians, who maintain that the Circle must do what is profitable first and foremost. They prioritize the accumulation of wealth with the gaining of political influence a close second. I presume the root there is lucre, where the word lucrative comes from, meaning something that's going to give you wealth. So far, an alliance between the Loyalists and Equitarians has prevented the Libertarians from gaining much headway, but there are signs that the Equitarians may throw their support in with the Libertarians. If that happens, many mages predict it will come to civil war among the circles. Seemed like that's what happened from the journal entries that we read. I'm presuming that Uldred was a Libertarian. I'm not sure if... Maybe we saw a journal entry or something that spelled that out explicitly, but I'm not sure that we ever did. The hierarchy of the Circle. It is no simple matter of safeguarding ordinary men from mages and mages from themselves. Each circle tower must have some measure of self-government, for it is ever the Maker's will that men be given the power to take responsibility for our own actions, to sin and fail, as well as to achieve the highest grace and glory on our own strength. You, who will be tasked with the protection of the circle, must be aware of its workings. The first enchanter is the heart of any tower. He will determine the course his circle will take. He will choose which apprentices may be tested and made full mages, and you will work most closely with him. Assisting the first enchanter will be the senior enchanters, a small council of the most trusted and experienced magi in the tower. From this group, the next first enchanter is always chosen, so the College of Cardinals, basically. Beneath the council are the enchanters. These are the teachers and mentors of the tower, and you must get to know them in order to keep your finger on the pulse of the circle, for the enchanters will always know what is happening among the children. All those who have passed their harrowing but have not taken apprentices are mages. This is where most trouble in a circle lies, and the idleness and inexperience of youth. The untested apprentices are the most numerous denizens of any tower, but they more often pose threats to themselves due to their lack of training than to anyone else. Knight Commander Serene of the Chantry Templars in a letter to his successor. History of the Circle. It is a truth universally acknowledged that nothing is more successful at inspiring a person to mischief as being told not to do something. Unfortunately, the Chantry of the Divine Age had some trouble with obvious truths, although it did not outlaw magic. Quite the contrary, as the Chantry relied upon magic to kindle the eternal flame which burns in every brazier in every chantry, it relegated mages to lighting candles and lamps, perhaps occasional dusting of rafters and eaves. Hey, that's an important job, don't look down on it. I will give my readers a moment to contemplate how well such a role satisfied the mages of the time. It surprised absolutely no one when the mages of Val Royeaux, in protest, snuffed the sacred flames of the cathedral and barricaded themselves inside the choir loft. No one, that is, but divine Ambrosia II, who was outraged and attempted to order an exalted march upon her own cathedral. Even her most devout Templars discouraged that idea. For 21 days the fires remained unlit while negotiations were conducted, legend tells us, by shouting back and forth from the loft. The mages went cheerily into exile in a remote fortress outside of the capital, where they would be kept under the watchful eye of the Templars and a council of their own elder magi. Outside of normal society, And outside of the Chantry, the mages would form their own closed society, the Circle, separated for the first time in human history. From Of Fires, Circles, and Templars, A History of Magic in the Chantry by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. The Harrowing. Among apprentices of the Circle, nothing is regarded with more fear than the harrowing. Little is known about this rite of passage, and that alone would be cause for dread. But it is well understood that only those apprentices who pass this trial are ever seen again. They return as full members of the Circle of Magi. Of those who fail, nothing is known. Perhaps they are sent away in disgrace. Perhaps they are killed on the spot. I heard one patently ridiculous rumor among the Circle at Brevane, which claimed that failed apprentices were transformed into pigs, fattened up, and served at dinner to the senior enchanters. But I could find no evidence that the Ravani Circle ate any particular quantity of pork. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genitivi, who will be on the lookout for in Denerim, if we can actually get there safely. This is the second group that has a secret initiation ritual that might result in the deaths of those who fail. In addition to the Grey Wardens, it's kind of a weird thing that they do here in Ferelden. Demonic Possession. Oh boy, this is getting lengthy. Why do demons seek to possess the living? History claims they are malevolent spirits, the first children of the Maker, angry at their creator for turning... here we go. Demons, this is their origin, I guess. Angry at their creator for turning from them and jealous of those creations he considered superior. Okay, yes, very much an angel background here. They stare across the veil at the living and do not understand what they see, yet they know they crave it. They desire life. They pull the living across the veil when they sleep and prey on their psyche with nightmares. Whenever they can, they cross the veil into our world to possess it outright. We know that any demon will seek to possess a mage, and upon doing so will create an abomination. Most of the world does not know, however, that the strength of an abomination depends entirely on the power of the demon that possesses the mage. This is true, in fact, of all possessed creatures. One demon is not the same as any other. Demons can, for instance, be classified. Enchanter Brahm's categorization of demons into that portion of the psyche they primarily prey upon has held since the Tower Age. According to Brahm, the weakest and most common of demons are those of rage. They are the least intelligent and most prone to violent outbursts against anything living. They expend their energies quickly, the most powerful of them exhibiting great strength and occasionally the ability to generate fire. Next are the demons of hunger. In a living host, they become cannibals and vampires, and within the dead, they feed upon the living. Theirs are the powers of draining, both of life force and of mana. Next are the demons of sloth, the first on Brahm's scale that are capable of true intelligence. In its true form, this demon is known as a shade, a thing which is nearly indistinct and invisible, for such is sloth's nature. It hides and stalks unaware, and when confronted it sows fatigue and apathy. Demons of desire are amongst the most powerful, and are the ones most likely to seek out the living and actively trick them into a deal. These demons will exploit anything that can be coveted, wealth, power, lust, and they will always end up getting far more than they give. Desire Demon's province is that of illusions and mind control. Strongest of all demons are those of pride. These are the most feared creatures to loose upon the world. Masters of magic and in possession of vast intellect, they are the true schemers. It is they who seek most strongly to possess mages, and will bring other demons across the veil in numbers to achieve their own ends. Although what that might be has never been discovered. A greater pride demon, brought across the veil, would threaten the entire world. From the Maker's First Children by Bader, Senior Enchanter of Ostrich, 8-12 Blessed. Okay, hang on a second. So, rage, which would be wrath. Hunger, which would be gluttony. Sloth, which would be sloth. Desire, which I think is a combination of envy and lust. So that's 5. Pride would be 6. What's the 7th deadly sin? Wrath, envy, lust, gluttony. Sloth, pride. I should know. I learned about this in religion class in grade school and in high school. They were, of course, they're in Catholic teaching. They are juxtaposed with the 7 cardinal virtues. Fuck if I could tell you what those were. Chastity, something. I don't know. Lame stuff. But there's a 7th deadly sin, and I cannot think of it. I'm getting comments right now. You guys are typing in the comments what the 7th deadly sin is. Sorry I can't think of it. I'm surprised that there's not a demon that addresses it. Unless, like desire, it encompasses 2 at once, lust and envy. Maybe one of the other ones does, but it's very much 1-to-1. Sloth, gluttony, wrath. I'm not sure. I'll have it the next time I record, and I'll tell you guys, hey everybody, I know I talked about this last time. Couldn't remember it, it was X. Can't believe I couldn't remember it was X. How silly of me. Cardinal rules of magic. Hey, here you go. Cardinal virtues. Let's see if it corresponds to the... maybe not. Doesn't look like it's going to correspond to the different types of demons. You must not be under the misimpression that magic is all-powerful. There are limits, and not even the greatest mages may overcome them. No one, for instance, has found any means of traveling, either over great distances or small ones, beyond putting one foot in front of the other. The immutable nature of the physical world prevents this. So no, you may not simply pop over to Minrathus to borrow a cup of sugar, nor may you magic the essay you forgot in the apprentice dormitory to your desk. You will simply have to be prepared. Similarly, when you send your mind into the Fade, your body remains behind. Only once has this barrier been overcome, and reputedly the spell required 2/3 of the lyrium in the Teventer Imperium, as well as the lifeblood of several hundred slaves. Jesus. The results were utterly disastrous. Finally, would that be the time that the Black City was corrupted? I kind of feel like that's what they're referring to. Finally, life is finite. A truly great healer may bring someone back from the very precipice of death when breath and heartbeat have ceased, but the spirit still clings to life. But once the spirit has fled the body, it cannot be recalled. That is no failing of your skills or power. It is simple reality. From the lectures of First Enchanter Wenceslas. Blood magic, the forbidden school. Much like Lumbada, the forbidden dance. Foul and corrupt are you who have taken my gift and turned it against my children. Transfigurations, 1810. The ancient Teventers did not originally consider blood magic a school of its own. Rather, they saw it as a means to achieve greater power in any school of magic. The name, of course, refers to the fact that magic of this type uses life, specifically in the form of blood instead of mana. It was common practice at one time for a magister to keep a number of slaves on hand so that, should he undertake the working of a spell that was physically beyond his abilities, he could use the blood of his slaves to bolster the casting. Over time, however, the Imperium discovered types of spells that could only be worked by blood. Although lyrium will allow a mage to send his conscious mind into the Fade, blood would allow him to find the sleeping minds of others, view their dreams, and even influence or dominate their thoughts. Just as treacherous, blood magic allows the veil to be opened completely so that demons may physically pass through it into our world. The rise of the Chant of Light and the subsequent fall of the Old Imperium has led to blood magic being all but stamped out, as it should be, for it poses nearly as great a danger to those who would practice it as to the world at large. From the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Yeah, that makes blood magic sound terrifying. The Four Schools of Magic. Creation. Opposition in all things, for earth, sky, for winter, summer, for darkness, light. But my will alone is balance sundered, and the world given new life. Trinities 5:5. The School of Creation, sometimes called the School of Nature, is the second of the schools of matter, the balancing force and complement of entropy. Creation magic manipulates natural forces, transforming what exists and bringing new things into being. Creation requires considerable finesse, more than any other school, and is therefore rarely mastered. Those mages who have made a serious study of creation are the highest in demand, useful in times of peace, as well as war. from the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Entropy. To you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. Second-born. I wonder if he's referring to mortals, like whatever ended up becoming demons, I'm calling them angels for lack of a better term, were his firstborn, and mortals were his second-born, or is this a Tolkien thing where elves and men are either first or second-born? In Tolkien, it's elves or firstborn, obviously. But one of the more interesting things about the Dragon Age universe is that it kind of treats the elves like shit, like second-class citizens, which is unlike other Tolkien-based fantasy settings. Second of the two schools of matter, entropy is the opposing force of creation. For this reason, it is often called the school of negation. Nothing lives without death. Time inevitably brings an end to all things in the material world, and yet, in this ending, is the seed of a beginning. A river may flood its banks, causing havoc, but bring new life to its floodplain. The fire that burns a forest ushers in new growth, and so it is with anthropic magic that we manipulate the forces of erosion, decay, and destruction to create anew. From blah blah blah, same thing. Primal. Those who oppose thee shall know the wrath of heaven. Field and forest shall burn. The seas shall rise and devour them. The wind shall tear their nations from the face of the earth. Lightning shall rain down from the sky. They shall cry out to their false gods and find silence. Andraste 7:19. Sometimes called the school of power. This is interesting. Usually the quote is italicized. The body of the text is not, but here it's all italicized. Or if that's just a typo. Sometimes called the school of power, the primal school is the second of the schools of energy, balanced by spirit, and concerns the most visible and tangible forces of nature itself. This is the magic of war, fire, ice, and lightning, devastation. This is what the vast majority imagines when they hear the word magic. Second of the two schools of matter. Second of the schools of matter. Okay, wait, hang on. They can't both be the second schools of matter. Well, this is the second school of power. No, second school of energy. Spirit. First of the two. Okay, so there's another typo here. One of these is the first of the schools of matter. But in the Codex, they're both called the second school of matter. Anyway, spirit. And the voice of the Maker shook the Fade, saying, In my image I have wrought my firstborn. You have been given dominion over all that exists. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever-changing. Trinities 5:4. This is telling me that whatever eventually became the demons were the firstborn, because I think he's talking about the Fade here. Formless and ever-changing. The first of the two schools of energy, spirit, is opposed by the primal school. It is the school of mystery, the ephemeral school. This is the study of the invisible energies which surround us at all times, yet are outside of nature. It is from the Fade itself that this magic draws its power. Students of this school cover everything from direct manipulation of mana and spell energies to the study and summoning of spirits themselves. By its nature an esoteric school, as most others know virtually nothing about the Fade, studies of spirit magic are often misunderstood by the general populace, or even confused for blood magic, an unfortunate fate for a most useful branch of study. Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons. Oh man, why can't they be short? I'm almost done. It is challenging enough for the casual observer to tell the difference between the Fade and the creatures that live within it, let alone between one type of spirit and another. In truth, there is little that distinguishes them, even for most astute mages. Since spirits are not physical entities and therefore not restricted to recognizable forms, or even having a form at all, one can never tell for certain what is alive and what is merely part of the scenery. It is therefore advisable for the inexperienced researcher to greet all objects he encounters. Heh, It's kind of funny to imagine a mage who's like super cautious. Like, yes, yes, I'll do that, sir. I'll greet everything I see in the Fade. And he's like saying hi to individual rocks and shit. Meanwhile, the demon's just watching this guy being like, come on, dude, what? We're not everything here. Typically, we misuse the term spirit to refer only to the benign, or at least less malevolent creatures of the Fade, but in truth, all the denizens of the realm beyond the veil are spirits. As the Chant of Light notes, everything within the Fade is a mimicry of our world. A poor imitation, for the spirits do not remotely understand what they are copying. It is no surprise that much of the Fade appears like a manuscript translated from Tevinter into Orlesian and back again by drunken initiates. In general, spirits are not complex, or rather they are not complex as we understand such things. Each one seizes upon a single facet of human experience, rage, hunger, compassion, hope, etc. This one idea becomes their identity. We classify as demons those spirits who identify themselves with darker human emotions. Oh, classify as demons those spirits. Okay, and ideas. Okay. So it sounds like it's not so much an angels and corrupted angels kind of thing. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. As it is a spirits who latch onto a positive human experience and spirits who latch onto a negative human experience, which we call demons. But there's no classification difference between them other than which experience they latch onto. The most common and weakest form of demon one encounters in the Fade is the rage demon. They are much like perpetually boiling kettles, for they exist only to vent hatred, but rarely have an object to hate. Somewhat above these are the hunger demons, who do little but eat or attempt to eat everything they encounter, including other demons. This is rarely successful. Then there are the sloth demons. These are the first intelligent creatures one typically finds in the Fade. They are dangerous only on those rare occasions that they can be induced to get up and do harm. Desire demons are more clever and far more powerful, using all forms of bribery to induce mortals into their realms. Wealth, love, vengeance, whatever lies closest to your heart. The most powerful demons yet encountered are the pride demons, perhaps because they, among all their kind, most resemble men. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Mirdramel. Sacred Ashes of Andraste. Only one person witnessed Maphareth's betrayal, Havard the Aegis, which is, I think, the shield that Alistair has right now. A childhood friend of Maphareth, he accompanied his chief to the meeting with the Tevinters, not realizing what was planned. When he understood that Maphareth was giving Andraste over to be executed, Havard, unwilling to draw swords against his friend and liege, placed himself between Andraste and the Tevinter soldiers. The Tevinters struck him down, and Maphareth left him for dead. Gravely wounded, Havard made his way to the gates of Menrathwis, to stop the execution. When he reached it, the terrible deed was already done, the armies on the plains long since dispersed. Havard, cursing his weakness, gathered the earthly remains of Andraste that had been left to the wind and rain, and wept. When his fingers touched the pile of ash, his ears filled with song, and he saw before him a vision of Andraste, dressed in cloth made of starlight. She knelt at his side, saying, "The Maker shall never forget you, so long as I remember." The song faded and the vision with it, and Havard was alone, but his wounds were healed. With new strength, Havard took up the ashes of Our Lady and bore them back to the lands of the Alamari. Well, that's somewhat encouraging. That makes me think that the ashes of Andraste might not be just a legend, because we've found Havard's Aegis. If that's real, maybe this story is real, and Andraste's ashes are real. The Veil. The last entry we're going to read tonight. I detest this notion that the veil is some manner of invisible curtain that separates the world of the living from the world of the spirits. Whether it be called the Fade or the Beyond is a matter of racial politics I refuse to indulge in at the moment. There is no this side and that side when it comes to the veil. One cannot think of it as a physical thing, or a barrier, or even a shimmering wall of holy light. Thank you very much for that image, your perfection. Think of the veil instead as opening one's eyes. Before you opened them, you saw our world as you see it now, static, solid, unchanging. Now that they are open, you see our world as the spirits see it, chaotic, ever-changing, a realm where the imagined and the remembered have as much substance as that which is real. More, in fact. A spirit sees everything as defined by will and memory, and this is why they are so very lost when they cross the veil. In our world, imagination has no substance. Objects exist independently of how we remember them or what emotions we associate with them. Mages alone possess the power to change the world with their minds, and perhaps this forms the nature of a demon's attraction to them. Who can say? Regardless, the act of passing through the veil is much more about changing one's perceptions than a physical transition. The veil is an idea. It is the act of transition itself, and it is only the fact that both living beings and spirits find the transition difficult that gives the veil any credence as a physical barrier at all. Dissertation on the Fade as a Physical Manifestation by Moreno, Senior Enchanter of the Minrath. I'm never going to be able to get that one the first time. Minrathwis Circle of Magi, 655 steel. Interesting definition of the veil. That's something I would not have understood. Yeah, there's enough to read yet that we're not going to bother finishing it now. It's been, God, almost a full hour of... Oh my God, look at this. Almost a full hour of Codex. And we still have at least, I would say, at least another 40 minutes, probably more than that to go. So we'll save that for next time. Proof Drain. Oh, I unlocked a spell combination. I'll have to see what that was. So much to read the next time we do this, though. There's a lot. I hope that you guys that are sitting through this and listening to the Codex, because it is listening, basically, it becomes an audiobook, there's not much to look at, are getting something out of it. I really enjoyed diving into the lore and trying to figure out the mythology of the place and figure out where it comes from and how this is affecting the character and what we're learning about the world. I feel like the Circle Tower is probably a place where a lot of that Codex is unlocked. Probably like half of it. I know there's still a lot to open, to see. We haven't unlocked all of it, but a lot of it is found in the Circle, I think. Anyway, thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Next time we'll... wait, what will we do next time? Hang on. Arleman must be revived. We have to find the Urn of Sacred Ashes, of course! My God, how could I forget? We go on the hunt for the Urn of Sacred Ashes. That seems the most important thing. More important than visiting Orzammar, the elves. We have to get to Denerim, I think, and find Brother Genitivi. That's the next step. We'll go back to the camp, of course, and rest and talk to everybody and pick some new party members when we go to Denerim. But until next time, take care, everybody. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, and I will see you around.